Okay, in 1.3 we'll be subtracting positive and negative numbers. And if you recall from the previous video, when we have subtraction, let's start a little bit on that. When we have subtraction, we will just change that to an addition problem. And then we already know from 1.2 how to add integers, how to add positive and negative numbers. So let's take a look at subtracting. You'll recall in the division of fractions, we actually changed division to multiplication. But remember, changes in math come in pairs, so if we make one change, we're going to have to change something else. So what did we change? We changed the number that followed that division sign, and we made it its opposite in multiplication, which is its reciprocal, 12 over 5, and so we would have 3/8. So again, we division to multiplication, and we change the number following it by flipping it, making it the opposite. Likewise, when we are subtracting, look down here at the bottom. When we are subtracting numbers, if we can't just look at it and know what the answer is, we want to change that to addition. So we will change subtraction to addition, and we will change the number that follows it to its opposite in addition, and its opposite in addition is a positive force. So you change the sign. So we've made two changes there. And the first number stays the same, just as it did up here in division to multiplication. Okay, so we've got adding two numbers. The signs are different, so we find the difference between those two numbers, ignoring sign, and we would get 6. And the sign of our answer is the same sign as the bigger number we see down here, ignoring signs. So we have a 10 and a 4. Which one's bigger? The 10. So we will take the sign that goes with that 10, negative. Okay, so a reminder, so to subtract, you change the subtraction to addition, and you change the sign of the following number, only the following number. On this page we have 4 examples. The first one, 12 minus 5, I know most of you can just say, okay, that's equal to 7. And like I said before, if you can just subtract, go ahead and do so. But what I want to do is I want to take a look at what we decided is the way to subtract and see if that still works when we have 12 minus 7. So we would change subtraction to addition, and we're going to change the sign of the following number. And what I'm going to do there is, when we have positives, I'm going to go ahead and add the positive so it's really clear what the sign of that number is. So we're changing the sign of the number that follows. Right now it's a positive 5, so it becomes a negative 5. And the number that starts it stays the same, so we have a positive 12 plus a negative 5. Yeah, we still get a 7. In the next example, first number stays the same. Change subtraction to addition, that's one change. Change the sign of the number that follows, so that becomes a positive 5, and we would get a positive 17. Third example, negative 12 minus 5 stays the same. Change subtraction to addition. Change the sign. I don't see a sign, so I'm going to put a little positive there, but we have to change that sign to a negative, and we would get a negative 17. And in the last example, oh boy, lots of negativity going on here. Negative 12 plus a positive 5, and we would get a negative 7. Okay, let's take a look at a few more examples. 18 plus a negative 4. What do we get there? Yeah, we're going to get the difference between those two numbers is 6, and the sign that's going to go with our answer is the sign of the bigger number, ignoring signs, which is 24, that negative 24, so that our sign of our answer is a negative. The next one, what would you say? Yeah, negative 36 plus, And if you want to, put that little plus there to remind you that in the original problem, 10 is positive, but when we change subtraction to addition, we change the sign, and we would get, woohoo, we're adding numbers that have the same sign, 46. Next one, stays the same, changes to addition, changes sign, get positive 10, and then the last one is another one of those. If you can subtract 64 minus 12, go ahead and do so, but let's just go ahead and do our process of changing subtraction to addition and changing the sign of the number that follows, and we would end up with a positive 52. Okay, so in the last example, let's see if we can get, okay, there we go. You'll see in these two problems, oh boy, we've got subtraction, addition, we've got lots of numbers, both positive and negative. It may frighten you to look at that, but just go step by step. So when I have these kind of problems, the first thing that I do is identify where we have subtraction. So I go along the problem, there's a subtraction sign, that will consider negative, there's another subtraction, there's a subtraction, and there's a subtraction. So identify those subtraction signs, and in the next step, we're going to keep that 10, and every time we have a subtraction sign, we're going to change it to addition, but then we have to change the sign of the number that follows, plus negative 5, plus, we changed from subtraction to addition, so we changed the sign of the number that follows, plus 3, plus, we changed the sign. Here's another subtraction, so we change that to addition, and then we change the sign of the number that follows, so now that becomes a positive 2. And let's put some cosmetic parentheses around it. One thing I want to point out before we finish this problem off, one thing that students do is they start changing, they get in the habit of changing the signs of the numbers that follow. You only have to do that when you change subtraction to addition, you change this follows. If you're adding, you don't have to change anything. It's only when you've changed subtraction to addition. So you'll see those are the only numbers that we changed the signs because they were what was following the subtraction sign. Okay, so if we finish this off, do you remember when we have a long string of numbers of both positive and negative, I like to just take and add up all of the positives first. So we would get 21, a positive 21, and then when we add up all the little negatives, negative 9, negative 16, we end up with a positive 5. Okay, let's try this second example. Again, I'm going to just identify first of all where there's subtraction. So I move along here, oop, nope, 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 that's just a negative, that's just a negative, but this one right here is definitely a subtraction, subtraction, and subtraction. So we're going to change all of those. Everything else will stay the same. So we have 20 plus a negative 10 plus a negative 2. I haven't changed anything yet. Now I'm ready to change that subtraction to addition, so I know to change the sign of the number that follows. Here's another change, changing that subtraction to addition, so we change the sign of that 8 to a negative 8. Another subtraction becomes addition, change the sign of the number that follows. And you'll notice we didn't change any sign here because we didn't change from subtraction to addition. And again, let's find all of our positives. Positive, oh, we've only got one positive, so we're going to end up with a positive 20, and then our negatives, let's identify with green, negative 10, negative 12, 17, 25, 31, 33. It's got plus a negative 33, and we know that that's going to give us a negative 13. There we go. That's subtraction, which we just immediately changed to addition.